button now, because if I don't, I might forget. Oh my goodness, I've got a bunch of people coming in, my dear. So I'm just going to have them mute themselves. I appreciate that. And I'll just let them all come on. I'm on my phone because I'm out in the boonies and I can't run my computer this way. So I have to use my phone. So bear with me. Welcome to my space. It is truly an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this, and there you are out in the boonies and making a difference in light of what you know. And that's what matters. That's what we all need to be doing. And that's why I've been looking forward to having this opportunity to talk with you and those that you reach out with and empower with truth.
It's all about the truth. This time is so full of deception. It is a time. And it's, if anybody can teach us and talk to us about that, it certainly is you, having been through an enormous amount of that experience for your life. I have to say, it's just remarkable, your story. And I can't tell you how, moved I was. And I have been following you for a little while now. And I've loved your interviews with people like Mel K, especially. You did an amazing one with Laura Eisenhower and Sasha Stone. It was wonderful. And so I just knew I had to connect with you because you're just a remarkable woman. And I needed to share your story with people because that is about the truth. And, so much of that is coming to light now, literally. And so it's one of those things that better, not from me, but from you who have lived it.
Well, these days look like they're so dark and they look like they're full of so much criminal activity and everything, when in fact that's been going on my whole life, and it's just now coming to light. Awareness is the first step towards positive, necessary change. And when we start seeing what's going on in our world, that's when we can make a difference. That's when people like you and so many others, just step up to the plate and start making a difference right in our own backyards, bringing that truth to light and making a difference with it, because that's what we need these days. The media voice of these criminals has been manipulating our information for a long time and our truth. Our knowledge base has been completely altered. And that is a form of mind control, because we all formulate our thoughts, opinions, and actions based on what we know. And we need to know. Our information has been altered for a long time now. And now, as truth is coming to light in spite of it, and the Great Awakening is happening on a global scale, people everywhere are waking up in light of truth, and like a spiritual evolution going on here. And so these perpetrators, this dark force, low vibration, is fighting with everything they have to maintain their secrecy, and doing everything they can to squash truth, dilute truth, scare people. Fear is a basis of mind control. So they're imposing fear everywhere they can so that they can regain control over the information and ultimately the minds of the people. That's not happening. People aren't listening to TV anymore. They're listening to people like you. They're listening to people like me and Mel K and Sasha and so many other great people out there, raising their voices and bringing truth to light, because the truth is simple. Lies are complicated. They have a lot to cover up. They're exposing themselves. They're so frantic now. They're exposing themselves all over the place because they're contradicting themselves. They're tipping their hand, and we all see exactly what they're up to. They're not fooling us anymore. And go Canada with all the truckers. They started a revolution of its own level all across the world now. I mean, it's the people. It's we the people. When people lead, leaders follow. And it's time they step aside and let us live the lives that we were meant to live.
Our God-given right,
yes.
And it's thriving, not just surviving through their crap, thriving, and that's why I wanted to do this series. And I'm so honored that you are number 3 in my new part of my career. I have for a long time read for people and had spiritual consultations and beautiful coaching and all of that wonderful stuff. And ever since all of this came along, I've been guided into this whole talk the truth, tell everybody about the truth. And it's hard. It's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but you know, it's got to come out. Just like you said, the truth has to come out. It's the only way to enlighten ourselves and to liberate our planet and everybody from this matrix mind control crap. So it's been such an interesting venture for me into this space, but we're calling it To Thine Own Self Be True because that's my last name, of course. It just kind of worked that way. We love the word
I
stuff.
love it.
You'll be laughing at me right now. But anyway, hi to everybody. Welcome to everybody. This is Kathy O'Brien. I didn't even do a formal introduction. Look at me just taking off here, but they know me. That's what I do. And that's what they love me for because I said,
Yeah.
my own.
That's why I was so drawn to do this interview with you, because it's just real people making a real difference. And, you know, to thine own self be true is everything, because people have to know their own truth in order to embrace anyone else's, in order to be able to discern truth that's happening in our world. But they have to know their own truth. And it's not easy for some people to face that part, let alone grasp the magnitude of what's going on in our world, especially with regards to human trafficking, because human trafficking, child sex trafficking, has been funding this new world order, this mind control slave society agenda all along. My whole life, I was born into it in 1957 in Muskegon, Michigan. So it's been going on a long time. It came over with Project Paperclip. We brought the Nazi and fascist scientists in, and they were teaching the CIA how to mind control. And the CIA was taking information from them and taking information from what the Jesuits, the Catholics, had learned about the effects of trauma on the human mind. And they know that when trauma occurs, people are suggestible. There's no trauma more horrific than pedophilia, the rape of a child, the sexual abuse of a child. It's so horrific that our brains respond to that trauma with or without us. Because when I was an infant, I certainly couldn't judge what my father was doing to me was wrong, but my brain knew, and it compartmentalized the memory of that event. It repressed that memory so the rest of my mind could function normally. That's what repressed memory is. It's our mind's sane defense to trauma too horrible to comprehend. This is a traumatic planet. We've all been through some level of trauma, and we have a right to know and a need to know our own mind-brain function, to understand how our brains respond to that trauma. Because even when national trauma occurs, or when global trauma like mind control masked as a virus has been to us all, when that happens, our brains become highly suggestible. It's like our conscious mind can't wrap around it fast enough. So it takes flight, and it leaves our subconscious mind wide open to manipulation. And that's what was brought over with the Nazi and fascist scientists. That's what was brought over with the Jesuits. That's what the CIA was doing to build a powerful form of mind control, MK Ultra mind control. And back in the day, so early on, my father, sexual abuse expanded into child pornography, which he was sending through the US mails. And he got caught. When he did, he was approached by a local politician who was sanctioning pedophilia. This is early 60s. This is already going on, not just in the US, on a global scale. They approached my father and told him that he could receive immunity from prosecution if he would sell me into MK Ultra mind control. And of course my father did. I mean, he that shows how the courts have been manipulated now for generations. And it shows how our justice system on a global scale has been corrupted to allow for the abuse of children, because the children are targeted, because that is a basis for mind control. And what they're wanting is a compliant society, a compliant humankind on a global scale, so that a handful of criminals make all the money, we do all the work, and their slave society agendas in place. What happened to me is happening on a mass scale. I was aware of that plan. I knew this was coming. That politician who approached my father went on to become unelected president of the United States, Gerald Ford. And as Gerald Ford's political career escalated to be slimed his way right into the White House, my victimization rose proportionately until I was used on a White House Pentagon level. It was right there in Washington, D.C., deep in the swamp, with this handful of perpetrators who use human trafficking and pedophilia for their mind control purposes and to fund their slave society agenda. So, as horrific as it all is, we need to wrap our brains around it. Understand we share this planet with some really bad people, and stop this low vibration, this negative force, this dark energy from affecting our brilliant minds any further. This is our time to rise and shine, our time to share truth with each other, our time to be the light and make the difference, be the change that we need to see in this world, and just start living love and unite in truth. Stop following leaders we didn't elect. They've been stealing elections a long time. It's time that we govern ourselves and start living the life that we were meant to be, and take back our birthright to that beautiful synchronicity and flow of life that happens when we are free to think for ourselves and be in harmony with that flow. Mind control disrupts life's purpose. It disrupts the beauty and the miracles of life, the intuitions, the harmony, the flow, the connectedness that we all naturally have. And that's what we need to take back. And in that process, we can take back our well-being and our being well, because we don't need to have these, we don't need to be funding the pharmaceutical companies with these forced injections of God only knows what into our bodies when we already have the most amazing immune systems on earth. We need to just simply realize that and go back to what we used to do with the common cold back when, and, stay home when we have the sniffles. And, we just all knew how to be compassionate and kind to each other and thoughtful of each other and not spread our germs back when we had a cold. We just need to go back to that. It's so simple and it's so natural. And then we have the ability to get over it so fast because some vitamin C and some chicken soup and a little rest and relaxation, and listen to our body and care for ourselves, and we're fine. We don't need that in our lives, and it's inexcusable that they're scaring people with what used to be the common cold. Of course, it's wicked and it's mean and it's magnified. It is, and it's bad, and it has hurt people. And yet, when we look at the death tolls on a global scale, they have not risen at all. They've stayed the same. They've only just redefined death. We don't have the cold anymore. We don't have the flu. We don't have heart attacks. We don't even have, some car accidents are termed COVID even. So we just need to realize that our knowledge is being manipulated. Our fear is being generated by false information, and truth freezes from fear. So we need to just be sharing that with each other, start shining our light and living our good health and well-being. It's our time.
Yeah, and I love that you touched on a lot there. I didn't so much. It was funny you said because my coffee cup this morning was "Be the change you wish to see in the world." I thought, I should make sure I have that so I can see it. But it's what we're doing. It's exactly what we're doing. We're being the change. We're illuminating the darkness and exposing it. And I've often said that I think the boogeyman is more afraid of being discovered than we are of discovering the boogeyman.
Yes.
And we really need to take that power for ourselves and say, you know what, we're not playing this game anymore with you. We're not going to be the pawns anymore.
Yes. And, mind control is, especially with repetition, we've been told to wear our mask, get the injection, stay, social distance. And that has been going on repetitively for so long that it's become ingrained in our subconscious. Whether we believed it or not, adhered to it or not, it starts going in. Even when we go into a grocery store, it's over the intercom, to mask up, social distance, all this stuff. So it took a hold on us. And those of us who are awake, we see these people wearing the mask and the fear in their eyes and everything. And we want to say, take off your mask, get oxygen to your brain. You need oxygen for free thought, take off your mask. And they can't hear, because when people are programmed, that program screaming so loud in their head on a subconscious level that they can't hear what we're saying. They can't hear logic. They can't hear the truth that we're sharing. And people are saying they're so frustrated with it. They said they just get in people's faces and they try to, holler at them. And it's like, doesn't matter how hard and how loud you holler, they can't hear over the voice in their head that's programmed them to wear that mask, get the injection, and all like that. So we need to understand with compassion what's going on in their head and be the change. So I've never worn a mask. I recognize mind control mask as a virus from the get-go, because in my MK Ultra mind control experience, masks are used. My own daughter was trafficked in a mask because they depersonalize, they take away you can't tell if someone's smiling, sneering, or whatever. They limit oxygen to the brain necessary for free thought, and they muffle voices. They stop people from being able to talk and communicate with each other. So that's why they're used. I recognized it immediately, never wore a mask. No way. I'm free. And knowledge is our defense against mind control. I've got the knowledge, and there's no way I'm giving into that. So I be the change. And when I see people who are fearful with their masks and everything, I smile at them and I show them how nice it is to be free, breathing in that fresh air, and then the children especially are like, oh, we can be free, and they get excited about it. By being the change, we're showing them the way back to freedom, and they can hear that way better than they can anything we have to say. So, being the change is exactly what's needed. The truckers, they got out there in Canada, and they started being the change. Okay, we're going to go do this. And they did it, and they started a whole global, I wouldn't even call it a revolution, because there's no violence. It's all peace. It's all love. It's all caring for each other. And they started an evolution, back to truth, back to the lives in the freedom that we're meant to live, so yeah, being the change, that's where it's at.
Very proud of my Canadian fellow brothers and sisters right now who are doing that very thing and standing in that truth and freedom space, because it's taken us quite a while. We are very pacifists, we're very passive up here, in Canada. And I've often made the joke that, we let people step on our foot and then apologize for having it in the way, because, we're so the only way for us to really get riled up and do anything is with peace, but we got to be united in it. And it's finally happened. First time in 2 years, I felt the patriotism, because I tell you, I was a little concerned there for a while. I was starting to worry about my fellow countrymen here, because wow, where are we, But we were targeted.
But that whole attitude of Canadians is lighting the way for the rest of the world to do it in peace, because that's the only way we can do it. If we get violent in any way, that's what they want, because then they can use violence. And no, we're not doing it that way. We are just taking back our lives. We are going to live our lives in peace and not comply anymore with these controlling, horrific mandates that are terrorizing our children. No more. And people are just saying no more. I love that. That's how it should be. Just peaceful Gandhian non-compliance.
I want to see the kids out there, and I love seeing them, and I heard all these videos of these little children sending CB messages to the truckers, thank you, truckers, and all that. It was just so beautiful. This is their future we're standing up for.
Yes.
I'm absolutely appalled when I see children wearing these face things, and I'm like, oh my God, take that off. 3 years ago, we would have been arrested for making our children do that all day. Now we have to.
Yeah.
What the heck? So it is a rather fun, Kathy, some of my people, my beautiful, wonderful spiritual peeps, and all those others who are here with us, don't know your story as well as I do. And I was wondering if you could just share a little bit more about what happened through your childhood, like what kinds of, what did you see? Like, what can you share that, can really show people? Because trafficking here in Ontario, I'm going to tell you, is an extremely major problem. It's an enormous problem. And right now we have schools that are being sort of revealed as, you know, they were letting groomers in at lunchtimes to survey the children to see who's worth taking, who's not. Like our entire 401 system, 400 highway system is a huge globally trafficked route. Like it's huge for that. Dumbs underground, all that stuff is huge up here. People don't think that. They don't even realize it because again, we're so passive. Nah, that can't happen here. Exactly the unsuspecting population to, you know, to work underneath, really, in a way. So we've got a lot of schools who are being revealed as, you know, integral in the system. Can you tell us how it, and your daughter also was pulled into that. So can you tell us how that happened to you? Aside from your father, I mean, what kinds of things did you witness in terms of other children coming through as well? Like what kinds of operation stuff would you be able to share?
I was taken to Mackinac Island, Michigan, which is where the governor's mansion is located. And at that time, the governor was George Romney. And we've still got Mitt Romney in place. And so many of the people, it's just a small handful of perpetrators. It's the same ones over and over and over again. The same ones that I have named and identified in my testimony for Congress, Transformation of America, which national security was invoked on that testimony because they started freaking that the information was going to get out and empower people. Because as my owner in MK Ultra mind control, US Senator Robert C. Byrd said, good people don't think to look for this kind of criminal activity. And it was at Mackinac Island, Michigan that I met Byrd, and Byrd was actively involved with Romney, and they were looking to implement mind control on a national and a global scale, because again, this is a new world order. It's been the plan. It's a 100-year plan. It began in Nazi Germany. It's only accelerated, but it's done it very quietly because people don't want to believe that kind of criminal activity exists. Well, at Mackinac Island, Michigan, I met Pierre Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau sexually assaulted me when I was 9 years old. He was actively involved in MK Ultra mind control. He wanted to perpetuate mind control over the Canadian population. In later years, I was exposed to Brian Mulroney, who was putting in the global education program into the school system to target the children by altering their knowledge base. That global education went in on a global scale because it's for the New World Order. It rewrote history and education to condition people to be passive and accept socialism. So we have generations that have been conditioned to it. And global education, of course, promotes pedophilia, and they do it here under gender confusion and a whole lot of other titles, but nevertheless, it's being promoted in the school system. So Brian Mulroney picked up where, you know, Trudeau had taken things so far. And of course, you got Justin. I mean, of course, he's a total mess. His father was a king of mind control. He was one of the strongest ones in the world, you know. So what could we expect from a son of his? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He either is exactly the same or he's total control. The same thing with so many of these other perpetrators. I was exposed to George Bush, and these names that I mentioned, it was all so unimpressive. It was not like, wow, you know, I know, because I was totally robotic, couldn't think for myself, could only do exactly what I was told to do. And what I was told to do is absolutely atrocious. The operations I was tortured and programmed to carry out were drug and trafficking operations across the Canadian and Mexican borders throughout the Caribbean. And it was just all one big effort because that was the groundwork of NAFTA. That was the basis for NAFTA. And those were the years that I worked the most in the 80s. So there's so much important information on my story on the political end so that we can dismantle the roots of corruption that have been planted throughout our society going forward. We need that information for that reason. The most important thing that we need to know is that they fear the strength of the human spirit. That's what mind control is all about. I know from my life's experience in MK Ultra Mind Control that without free thought, there's no free will. Without free will, there's no soul expression, no ability to stand for the things that you believe in, no ability to, I didn't even have any ability to, I didn't have a survival mechanism. I couldn't protect my own daughter. All the things of the human spirit, those beautiful moral good values that we have, all of that was stopped through mind control. They couldn't possess my spirit. They could not possess it. They could only suppress it. And that's what they're doing to us all. They know they can't possess it. They can't stop it that way. But if they can control our expression of it by controlling our minds, that is the most they can do, because they are so scared of the strength of the human spirit. It's where we win. It's where they lose. It's where we win over artificial intelligence. It's where we win over all manner of evil, because love is the most powerful force in the universe. And that's what our strength of spirit is that power of love. And when we start living the love we are and shining that light, boy, they're done. Darkness can't creep in on light. Light overcomes dark, so we just need to shine our light. They're done. Game over. They've been fooling us too long, and we just need to take back the brilliance of our own minds and start shining our human spirit and power of love. And we got it made. That's the most important thing that we need to gain from the mind control experience that we have all just had with this mind control masked as a virus. As we wake up, we have a lot of freedom to reclaim, and every step of it, I know, is a great journey, because freedom is a celebration that I never take for granted. And I celebrate my freedom to live true to soul and to live the love that I am every moment of every day. And it's a nice mode to live in. It's a higher vibration that gives a higher view, so that we can rise above the fear, rise above the trauma, the negativity and the darkness, and see clearly what's really going on in our world. And what's going on in our world is absolutely amazing spiritual evolution.
It's amazing. I love that you said that. You got to live the love you are. That's all we can do. And that's what we're supposed to do. Live the love that we are, because that's the light and the truth of who we are. And I say to people, as long as you're living your truth, it doesn't matter if other people agree with you or not. Your truth is your truth. The truth is the truth, but your truth is individual. And when you live that, up like a firecracker, you're so bright. And I'm always saying to people, this is just a big old light, right? You got to clean your peg, so when the light shines, you can be clear with it. That's what we're here for. And I just love your tenacity to get to where you are. For one thing, your spiritual tenacity is incredible. And the fact that you only strengthened and fortified your faith and your belief in a greater power through it all, despite everything. I mean, you could have totally turned against it all and despised everything. And, and I think that that's so remarkable, because a lot of people do.
Remarkable. Excellent word. Mark Phillips was an intelligence insider who saw what was going on within the US government. He knew that pedophilia was being used as a mind control agenda and being promoted. He knew that it was being used to blackmail and compromise certain politicians and judges. He saw human trafficking operations funding the takeover, the undermining of the US. He saw the criminal activity that was going on a global scale, because Mark was, as an intelligence insider, was a spook, which means he wore many hats. He could be Secret Service, CIA, FBI. He worked with other intelligence agencies on a global scale. And they too were appalled. There are many people on the level that Mark was appalled at what they were seeing. So Mark decided to do something about it. And he rescued my daughter and me right out of the Washington, D.C. swamp, right out of the human trafficking operations, and handed me the keys to my own mind. Mark worked in mind sciences, and he worked towards preserving freedom of thought. He was very concerned for the effects of trauma on the human mind and wanted to be able to help people to reclaim their free thought after any trauma, whether it be a personal trauma, childhood trauma, repressed memory, whether it be national trauma, whether it be in his realm that he was working on, spies who were tortured and needed to reclaim their freedom and their free thought. So he decided that he was going to take the information that he had learned on the human mind, which was suppressed from mental health, through Dr. Ewing Cameron up there, and even in Canada, and the suppressing the information on mind brain function from mental health and from humanity as a whole, so that it could be used to control minds instead. And he wanted that information released back to the people because it's our birthright. We have a right to know and a need to know how our brains work. So Mark taught me when he rescued me. I didn't know how old I was. I didn't know what year it was, where I'd been. Everything was repressed in my mind, and I had no free thought of my own. I had no ability to form a decision, no ability to think free at all, until Mark handed me the keys and said, okay, pen is mightier than the sword. Write out your memory. Well, just like my brain compartmentalized when my father abused me and I didn't know, I couldn't think to trust. I couldn't think to know that good people even existed in the world anymore. But my brain knew. We have been blessed with so much that my brain knew, and it recognized it. So it started opening back up. And as I opened back up, I would get flashes of memory, these flashes, and they were in my mind screen, like many people experience around age 30 when electrochemical changes happen in the brain and they start remembering childhood, memories that may have been repressed or whatever. My brain was starting to fire. And he said, as soon as you see that, write it out, just make a note of it and grab that thread and then keep writing. And when you write out your memory, what that does is it takes what was emotionally incomprehensible and shut down by neuron pathways over here in the brain, opens those neuron pathways back up to shift that memory over to logic, because it takes the logic part of the brain to move a pen. So it actually physically opens up neuron pathways in the brain, and then you write it out on the paper in front of you where it's consciously acknowledged. Now you got healing on so many levels happening all at once, from the physical, the psychiatric, to the psychological, to the soul, to spirit, it's all coming in, here it is. And with that comes an ability for conscious awareness. And Mark also strapped a watch on my arm because he said a concept of time equates to a concept of awareness. Monitor time so that you don't slip, how it's slip into dissociation. It's like missing time. So I didn't do that anymore. I stayed alert and I paid attention and wrote out my memories. And as fast as those memories were written out, they were handed over to other concerned members of law enforcement, of intelligence, especially US Customs in the United States. They were amazing, and they validated the information. So every bit of my testimony that I wrote out in Transformation of America has been proven true, which is why national security was invoked on it. But still, I encourage everybody, pick it up, find out what's been going on for so long, and realize that Transformation of America was written in 1995, and it detailed who was going to be US president all the way through the Bushes and the Clintons, and how Hillary Clinton was supposed to have ushered in the New World Order. So all that's in there. It's all pertinent information. It's all validated. And I still would tell everyone, don't just believe me, research every bit of it. Don't just believe those that validated it, and don't believe national security. Go ahead, research every bit of it, because the more you know, the more you see. And the more you see, the more we're able to take back control of our own lives, our own world, and reestablish truth, justice, and freedom on all levels. Stop the human trafficking funding mechanism. But all this came through Mark, handed me the keys to my own mind. And I've posted the healing methods that he taught me on my website. My website is trance-formation.com. It's TRANCE-formation.com. And it's PTSD, Time to Heal. And it's very, yes, and it's very, it show how thin it is. Because truth is simple. And it takes us to our own truth. This book is not about me. It's about all of you. It's so that you can find your own truth, reclaim it, expand your own thinking to be able to live the love you are, true to soul, and in complete freedom. It's so amazing because Mark was so loving to me and he was so good to my daughter. And we fell in love. Our love story is absolutely amazing. It's a James Bond and then some, it's action packed the way we were able to survive to get this information out. And that our love story is in Access Denied for Reasons of National Security. It tells you, sweetheart. It tells our journey through the justice and mental health system, how we survived, but most important, how we fell in love along the way. Love is the most powerful healing force in the universe. And it is the power of love that's going to unite us all and allow us to be able to reach out to each other with compassion and start lifting each other from this darkness that's been imposed on us for so long. And when I started to heal, people would tell me, well, you have to love yourself. I was like, how could I love myself after what I'd been forced to do? I didn't, daily affirmations just weren't helping. That just weren't getting it for me, So I had to find out who I am on the base core energy of my being, because I couldn't base it on whether other people thought of me. I was ruled by other people for 30 years. This was my time. I needed to know who I am. So I found myself in the base core energy of my being. And I found that to be love. And it's like, well, yeah, then I don't have to worry about loving myself. I just need to live the love I am. And there, got it made, So I started living the love that I am. And I've never stopped. It's a freedom and a joy and a celebration every day. And once I knew who I was and reclaimed my free thought in all that I am, Mark and I fell in love. And we had the most beautiful, loving relationship. It wasn't like, I see other people have like 50-50 relationships, and then they push, pull. No, we didn't have time for that. We were both 100% in who we are. So we were like, fast forward, to accomplish our life's purpose, our shared life's purpose. And it was a beautiful relationship, a beautiful way to live. I lost my soulmate in 2017. Mark passed away and the whole world lost a hero. And at that time, that was so traumatic for me that I reapplied everything in PTSD Time to Heal. We had just released it the year before based on my healing process. Mark couldn't release it. He was bound by laws of sedition from intelligence, but I could release it because it was my experience to heal. I'm not bound by laws of sedition. So I'm glad it was right there in print for me, because I started reapplying every bit of it. And I started writing again, and I wrote a zillion poems. I found that the memories that I have are so beautiful now, the memories of Mark and the joys and the times that we shared, what we accomplished together. And it's so beautiful I would just write it out. And anytime I write anything out, I always write with a solution. And I spell solution, S-O-U-L, solution, because when you have to think in terms of a solution, you can't stay in a negative woe is me space. It helps you rise above it. It takes you out of that rut and lifts you to a higher view. So I found the solution for me was going to be honor Mark in every breath and every moment, by living the love that I am, by living the strength that he taught me. From healing within, I have absolute strength, because that attaches to the ultimate power of love and strength in the human spirit. So I choose to stay anchored in that, keep my shoulders back, not curl over and, give up. Shoulders back, breathe in the air, and live the love double, because love never dies. And so now my heart didn't break in two, it swelled to double size. Now I'm like, I've got even all more love. So that's a good way to move forward with the trauma of losing him. And I think he'd be very pleased, not only with what I am doing, because he knew me so well, he knew that it would, but he'd be extremely pleased to see the great awakening happening. He would be extremely pleased to see people like you, Brenda, who are doing such a wonderful service to other people by shining your light of truth. He would be so thrilled with seeing the positive change that's coming now. He knew the darkness that was there, and waking up from it and recognizing it doesn't make it new. It just means that now it's our turn. Now it's our time to shine. It's our time to be free. And that's what Mark dedicated his life to. That's what he lived his life for. And I'm going to keep shining that light and waking up as many people as I possibly can. It's our time. I'm so excited to be here and be able to live that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. And God bless Mark Phillips for the beautiful earth he was, rescuing you and your daughter. And as a medium, I can tell you, he's right there with you all the time, and they don't go until we're good, and you're not done your job. So you've got quite a ways to go still, lots of that light to share and shine for everybody. Can you speak to, well, first of all, PTSD, that's why I reached out to you, and I thought, well, this whole world is about to be exposed. Yes. Truth, and when that happens, the entire globe is going to experience PTSD in some form or another, in some way. But also combined with grief, can you speak to the grief, because you of all people would know what it feels like to grieve a life you never got to live. And I think a lot of humanity is going to have a bit of portions of that to deal with, as well as what was never going to be, but as well as what they'll never have and what we're moving into. Can you speak to the grief of that a little bit?
Well, I don't have any fear, and I don't have any bitterness for my experience, because these perpetrators, this handful of dark energy force, feeds off of negativity. Negativity is immobilizing, and they love to fuel it and they love to feed it, and they feed off it to the point of generating fear and trauma. It's their vibration, it's their energy. And they took my life for 30 years, and they're not getting one more second. I am not going to live in that space. I am not going to live in any bitterness or any regret or anything else. Instead, I'm living the love I am and moving forward in light of life's purpose, because now that I'm free to think for myself, I'm free to live in that flow of synchronicity and coincidences that light our path and line up to show us the way that we need to go. Under MK Ultra mind control, I had no capacity for any free thought whatsoever. I didn't have an ability to even survive or protect my daughter, as I said. So my thinking was non-existent. Because of that, my brain was like fired into other places. It was like blasted into some areas that I think had become more dormant in humanity. In the most primitive parts of the brain, like where animal instinct is, where telepathy is, where intuitions are. So I had all these heightened intuitions, and I had these other abilities, these other heightened senses, vibrational intuitions, and all these other aspects. When I healed and I learned to think for myself, I didn't have to give up those parts of my brain, because I've already been blasted into it. Why do I have to go away from that? So instead, I get to live that too. My intuition is extremely high. My the whole telepathic aspect of things is precious to me. I have great communication with my pets. I spend as much time in nature and with animals as I possibly can. And children are telepathic, because it's like, before life gets in the way of that purity, that beauty of what our brains are capable of, before life clutters it and gets in the way with rules and all this other stuff, fears and, whatever is being imposed. Before all that, and they're still pure and they have that telepathy. So these children with their little masks and their fearful eyes and everything, man, I blast them so hard with telepathy on the freedom and the joy of what is and what truly is. And it's a beautiful aspect of life that as people reclaim their free thought, instead of regretting what has happened, we need to move forward and start protecting the children. We need to move forward and reclaim some of those beautiful innate gifts that we were born with. Those other parts of my brain that I was blasted into also regulate my health. And so I adhere to that. I know how to mind over matter on health. So I don't have time to catch a cold. I don't get them. I just stay healthy because I don't have time to be otherwise. And we have so much ability within ourselves to heighten our own ability to be well. That is something we need to gravitate back to. So instead of staying in a negative space of woe is us, everybody everywhere can start moving forward and reclaim some of these things that really pharmaceutical companies have conditioned us away from for so long. We have such great immune systems, but the pharmaceutical companies have not only withheld information and education and through the media, which they control, but they have also made their money off of promoting all these drugs to us that haven't cured anything, but have only messed with our immune system. So as we realize that, we can reclaim our heightened immunity and everything. And again, that's in PTSD time to heal, because when I healed, I had to heal on all levels, physical, too. And it's amazing. Our bodies, our minds, and our spirits are so resilient. That's what we need to reclaim. That's what we need to be focused on. We don't need to go back to the dark ages. We need to move forward in light of what is.
Absolutely. Despite, in spite, or, to spite. And that's actually interesting, because the second part of the to thine own self be true is the I am that I am, right? I am that I am. I am true to myself. And that's what I think the dark forces hate about us the most, is that we have this purity, we have this light, we have this soul, compassion, empathy, we have these abilities. They snipped our wings and clipped our DNA so we didn't have those abilities working and all of that stuff. And they're after everything natural, right? That is a beautiful natural expression of life and creation. And I think that that's the whole, dare I say, antichrist movement or anything, anti-natural,
yes.
all that. And that's what they're trying to do. And so the pharmaceutical company comes in and does everything synthetic. And now we see those aren't healing. They're just Band-Aids. They just keep you maintained. So now it's like the same thing is happening again, but they want everybody to be synthetic and artificial, not natural anymore.
Yes. The good news is too, that soul is stronger than genetics. We can heal on the most significantly deep levels. It's like when I was targeted for MK Ultra mind control, because after 3 generations of incest and childhood sexual abuse, it becomes autogenic. And that's what they're trying to create, is that kind of mind control, dumbing down through the whole pedophile agenda. And I had been born into 3 generations. It should have been autogenic in me. It is not. Soul overcomes those genetics. And I am not, that is just not any part of my being. But what it has given me is an ability to see how strong we all really are, and the capacity that we have to overcome what we've been conditioned with for generations now. We can still overcome that in light of truth. Truth frees us from fear. Truth empowers us to be able to start living the love we are. And that is stronger than anything, any darkness that's been imposed on us through this time. They are a dark energy force. We can put any name on them we want to. But the fact is, they're within our realm to affect. As soon as people want to call them devils, then they think, whoa, we can't do. Yes, we can. They're here, we're here, we win. We got the power, we got the love, we got the ultimate, and we have the numbers. We are the vast majority. This is our planet, not theirs.
Absolutely. And I love that you always speak to the human spirit, you know, and when I think of that, and although I believe we've been red pilled and microdosed all the way through the entertainment movies and stuff like that, I always go back to that moment in that movie Lockup with Sylvester Stallone, where he looks at Donald Sutherland, I think it is, the warden through the bars, you know, and he says, "You won't break me." And I just keep thinking that you're not breaking me. I don't care who you are or what you think you got going on. I will not break to your stuff, to your agenda, period. I don't consent. I do not.
Yes.
I'm sovereign.
That is knowledge. That's our defense against mind control. And when you have that knowledge, it's like a knowledge of realization of your own strength. And that's our defense. It's our defense against it. It's our evolutionary defense going forward so that this never happens again. It happened in Nazi Germany. Now it's happening in the world because the truth of that was suppressed so much. We need to understand, and as we do, we can all be like you are in that regard and say, no, no more. It's not going to happen. We all need to be like Mark and make a difference right where we're at. When we see the bad, stop it. And we all need to live the love that we are. And we all need to live that knowledge that you just voiced so eloquently and say, no, you're not going to bend me. You're not going to break me.
Won't. And that's the thing. I am that I am. I'm strong, right? So I got to be true to me. And I have to tell you how blessed I know I am to even have a contact with you and have that connection with you today, and for you to share your time and light with us all. I wanted to also mention that I think everybody needs to buy that PTSD book, by the way. I actually bought 3 copies and gave 2 away because I thought it was so important. And I gave them to people who deal with people who have been severely traumatized. Really awesome, beautiful medicine women, actually, who take care of people who come through horrible things like you've been through, and help them release that from their bodies and their nervous systems and things like that. Because as you know, it's a multidimensional experience. It's not just in one place we're traumatized. It goes through us all. It permeates every part of our being and every body that we hold, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, whatever, you know. And so I have to say your light is just so incredible. And share the name of the book. Yes, I will share the name of the book, PTSD, A Time to Heal. Kathy O'Brien, you got to look her up. Absolutely.
Yes. And it is posted on my website. When Mind Control Masters, a Virus was unleashed globally, I posted it on my website in ebook form. It's really better in hard copy because you write with a pen, not type, because typing doesn't do the same brain function. You need to get away from all that electronic stuff and shut off phones and stuff and pick up a pen. So really the hard copy is better, but it still needed to make it available to everyone. So it's posted on my website with a pay what you can, if you can option. So everyone can have it now, regardless of income. Many people don't have any income right now and they just need the information. So it's there. It's on my website at trance-formation.com, TRANCE-formation.com. So people can have it that way as well.
And the most recent book, Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips, Access Denied for Reasons of National Security. Fascinating. I want to tell you, just the fact that Kathy is here talking to us today, she is a reason for national security. Absolutely. You know, because we know if they have to admit to what they've done by, you know, in any way, she's going to be the one to get the credit for telling on them. It's great, though.
Thank you.
Well, that's the point. We need to. We've been spellbound for a very long time on this planet, and they've messed with our words, our language, our life, our world, our air, our water, everything, right? And the truth is absolutely imperative. What a day today for us to share this time, because, you know, technically it's the Feast of Light, we call it, right? Some people celebrate Candlemas and whatever, but it's about the increase of light and the brilliance that we can shine with it. And so I have to say, I'm truly honored to be in the brilliance of your light, Kathy, and shine and light right along with you. Yay.
Yeah, it's really nice. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I appreciate you. And Yeah,
So,
we won. We just got to let the bad guys know it. They're done. Shine our lights.
well, that's it. Like this is playing out in divine timing, and that doesn't run on Timex. And we know the light wins every time anyway, and we know that in some future space we've already done that. We just got to kind of go through the motions to get there, and it's not easy by any means, and it's very bleak some days. But there's often, I think there's a silver lining here, and I truly believe that the more extreme it gets, the more pushed we are to stand up, and whatever awareness people come to. I don't really care if you just get, hip to the whole mask and virus thing, or whether you really get hip to the vax thing, or whether you get hip to the whole this planet's run by Luciferian thing. Like so many people are okay at certain levels, but when it gets to be a little bit bigger, like MK Ultra and all this other, now you're pushing it, right? Like my kid, he's like, Mom, I don't know. I can deal with some of this stuff, but the Satanist stuff, I don't know. And I'm like, it's out there. It's out there. It's infiltrated in the military. It's everywhere. Like at some point we get to these levels and we finally expand our, like you said, open your mind enough that you can actually take in what's necessary to take in. And we're getting there slowly but surely, and gratefully, because of beautiful lights like yourself.
Well, if there's any one of those days that's a little bit harder and things seem to look a little bit bleaker, you can see what it is that is negative, because negativity immobilizes. And pick up that pen, write it out, just write out what it is, make note of it, or write a poem, write a little story, whatever, but write it with a solution. And as soon as you have to do that solution and you're moving that pen on a solution, it's opening your mind and raising your vibration back up where it belongs, so that you can have a clearer view. And that way it's a lot easier to keep moving forward in light of purpose than to be brought down through any imposed negativity. We don't need that. We got to clean that out of our way, sweep it out of our way, pick up the pen and do it. And then we're able to move forward. And it's much easier that way. That pen thing is so important. They took it out of education on the children and have them just typing, because they know that's important for processing information. We need to get that back in the school system. So that's one more thing that we need to do. Parents, encourage your kids, pick up a pen, start writing instead of typing. We gotta get back to that.
And I noticed it's interesting when you spoke about Mulrooney coming in and messing with the curriculum, because my children, I have two boys and they're 8 years apart. So there's a significant span of years between their schooling. So by the time my oldest was out of grade school and my youngest was heading in, I noticed the curriculum had changed significantly, to a point where my oldest had been taught to think outside the box. My youngest was being taught, don't go outside the box. You just copy and paste. And I was a little disturbed by that. And I thought, well, how is that helping them think for themselves critically and, exercise their brain? And it wasn't. It was meant to dumb them down. Do what you do and do what we say and don't question anything. Absolutely imperative to notice these little subtle things that have been implemented, all part of the dumbing down process, the indoctrination, and the MK Ultra. It's basically mind control. McGill University, I was listening to something the other day, because we can't find you on YouTube, but we can certainly find other stuff about this kind of thing. But McGill University was a hot spot back in the 60s and stuff for all of this stuff. And it's been pretty prevalent here in Canada. I had no idea it was so bad here as well. But, that whole mass psychosis, that whole mass mind control thing was absolutely to get us to where we are today, right? Absolutely.
Yep, it woke people up. It's like the harder they try to control now, the more people wake up, and they've completely lost their grip. They've totally exposed their hand, and it's our time to shine. We won. We just need to claim our victory and celebrate it.
Absolutely. Well, Kathy, I have to say, I've taken up enough of your time, and I truly appreciate the time you shared with us today. Once again, if you want, I will put the links to Kathy's, not only her website, but her books. I do encourage everyone to certainly pick them up and read them. Her story is absolutely, and she also is a very remarkable woman. And I have to say, I'm truly grateful to whatever source, God, light, whatever you call it, has brought you into our space and allowed you to tell the truth and to tell this, the light, to share the light rather that you do, and to to empower others, because there's so many people who've been subjected to what you've been subjected to over, and we don't even like, it's really something. So again, so many blessings for you and to you, and on this day of light for sure. I hope we can chat again sometime. I really do.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yes, let's stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Kathy, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye now.